That's what I'm talking about, son. Get you some of that daggone pie.
Woo-hoo! Looky there! There's your bug-eyed big one right there.
Getting started. We're getting started.
Here's what I'm talking about. Gosh dang gorilla!
Let's go, baby. Straight meat. God, look at that big one.
All right, welcome in everybody to the BAM Pod. Hey, I'm your host, Big Ed, and on the line tonight we have the Oroville champ is in the house. Mr. Wyatt Debusk is coming on, and he is going to be talking to us about how he did it on the tournament out there at Oroville, second stage of the BAM Trail, for the ProAms. And, Wyatt, welcome in, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
I bet you are, because that means you won the whole thing there. That's quite an accomplishment against some of the guys you were fishing against, and on a lake that's actually pretty tough this time of year. Has its ups and downs, but you figured it out and dialed it in. And you know what? Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about how you did all that.
Right on. Yeah, I was looking at some of the names that were at the event. It was just crazy to be able to top some of them and then end up topping all of them, actually.
Now, is this your first year on tour? Like, is this your first year fishing Pro-Am events and that sort of thing?
No, I did my first Pro-Am in 2020 and have done them all throughout and still going to keep doing them. But yeah, so fourth year.
Fourth year? Okay. Yeah. I mean, and this is your first win?
Correct.
All right. I mean, hey, that's a heck of a way to kick it off. Your first win, you take a trail like BAM that's really, we're coming up. We're doing this whole thing. We're trying to make this big tour out here on the West Coast. And, you come out here and you win this thing. Now, it's funny. I had gotten messages all day. It's like, hey, man, you're going to get tired of interviewing, Greg Gutierrez and that sort of thing. And that guy was in the field, and he ended up like, I don't know, right behind you there. How does it feel to go up against a guy like that? And not only, I'm sure over the 4 years that you've been fishing, that you fished against him probably before and that sort of thing. But this is out here on the West Coast. He is one of the big names. But there was guys like Greg Gutierrez, Ish Monroe, there was other guys out here that fished these lakes consistently. And, you came out and you topped them all. How did that just break down a little bit about how that made you feel, going into day 3, you made the cut and you're up there, and you're getting ready, it's blast off. How did you feel going into that whole thing?
Yeah, so going into day 3, I was just excited just to make the day 3 cut. And like I told somebody the night before, hey, I'll at least be 10th. No matter how I do, I will at least be 10th. And like you look at the field, like you said, Greg Gutierrez, there's J.R. Wright, Aaron Britt. Like these guys live and breathe fishing and are incredible. Like you see them win all over the place. And like with Greg leading it, everyone's like, oh, Greg's going back to back. And yeah, like going into weigh-in, Aaron Britt was behind me. We were talking. He's like, oh, you might have it. I'm like, no, like Greg's back there. And then take over the hot seat, go through Aaron, go through JR, and then here comes Greg. And it's like, well, I'm second. And yeah, I was shocked that I had enough to top Greg at, I mean, I say a spotted bass lake, but all lakes he's always competitive at. But you give tougher conditions, like the bite wasn't wide open, kind of like at Shasta. Greg thrives on those tougher conditions. So I'm kind of thinking that, oh, yeah, I'll be second.
Man, but you pulled it off. Now, let's talk about that a little bit, because a lot, there was so much changing during this tournament. There was wind, there was cold, there was warm, there was, that there was just so much going on out there. What was it that you really keyed on to get these, to get the bags you ended up getting all 3 days?
Yeah, so with the weather, I mean, the first day was just a nice, solid day of practice. The first day was solid, really nice day, a little cold. And then day 2, we had the wind, so like extreme winds. Like there's 3-foot rollers coming in through the boat docks. And I don't know, it kind of messed with my head a little bit because with the wind and the kind of stirring everything up, spotted bass love to go to the bank, love to eat reaction. So you want to go do that, and then you got to rely on wind. And then come tournament, we had some wind the first day, but then it got hot and sunny. And I mean, it felt amazing, but with the fish, it kind of, I don't know, makes them funky. So for me, I kind of just cleared my head and just went fishing, and I had somewhere to start. And then after that, just kind of started going fishing and was able to pick off some here or there that were some key fish.
Was there any one pattern that you had figured out in practice that you were like, you know what, this it either had to change or did it stick throughout the entire day? You know, through I mean, all of three, or did you have to adjust every day? What was your overall, pattern that you had found?
Yeah, so the main thing that was consistent every single day of practice and every single day of the tournament was the low light, cold morning, like up until the sun got over the mountains was a floating fly. Like every morning I could catch anywhere from 5 to 15 fish, depending on how well I got them hooked. So that was about the only thing that was super consistent. After that, some Senko fish on points, like could catch them, but the quality was hit or miss. But yeah, other than the fly, there wasn't much super consistent for me.
Now, were these fish the ones that you were mostly targeting? With the floating fly, I'm guessing I don't do that much, but I've talked to a few guys that do. Is it a more open water thing? How did you approach that? I mean, you talked about the Senko up on the points, and I'm guessing with these fish, this is that time of year where those fish are starting to move up and getting up, they're looking to spawn. What were you targeting as far as with the floating fly? Was it a forward facing sonar pattern? What was it that you were really targeting?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm no great floating fly guy. I try it at Shasta and Oroville, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, there's people like Ryan Friend that is a master at it. But for me, I always get beat by people that run up creek arms. So that was my goal this tournament, was run up some creek arms. And then day 2 of practice up the South Fork, I kind of got back there, got to the no wake zone, idled for a ways, and figured I was close to the back and just started fishing. And it was kind of more, they were moving up. It was close to the thermocline because there was some temperature change back a little bit farther from that. And for me, it was more cast to the bank, pull it out a little bit, look at forward facing and see if there's anything interested. And nothing kind of coming up or looking at it, I'd make another cast. And I'd say about half of them I never even saw on forward facing. But I think it was just fish that were starting to pull up. They moved back way into the creek, so they were just starting to pull up and feeding up a little bit and figuring out where they want to start to think to spawn.
Okay. And then as they are, as you're looking at this and you run up to it almost sounds to me, I want to say this because I'm listening here and say, it almost sounds like you just went out and said, you know what, I'm completely just fishing these first days. I don't have anything solid, but this is what the fish should be doing, and this is what in the past they have been doing. Is that pretty much how your mentality was for the first couple of days?
Yeah, so I had been to Oroville one time before last year for ProAm, and I had no practice, couldn't get off work, so I showed up to the tournament, and I joked around with Ken Mall, like, almost dead last. There was 150 boats or whatever, and I caught 3 fish between the 2 days of the tournament. And so for this one, I had to practice. I'm like, I'm going to run up a creek arm, check it out, see what I can find, and just go fish, because get stuck on one thing in your head, and it sometimes works out great, but sometimes it burns you and kind of just get lost and get too focused on that one thing. So I just went fishing.
I mean, that's an approach that it's a tough one to take, honestly. Most of these guys are putting in, days and days and days and days and trying to really figure this out and get something dialed in. But, to take that, but to have, something in your arsenal like the float and fly that you just felt like, you know what, I know I should be able to catch fish like this, but it's not a set pattern in your mind. What kind of made you start deciding, what, I've got the float and fly going, and now I got to find what's that next bait? How did you pick, the Senko to be your next bait?
So yeah, the float and fly was actually the second thing in my head to go try.
Oh,
I
okay.
knew last year everybody was catching them on an A rig. So the first day of practice, I threw an A rig until my shoulder was falling off and only caught 4 fish and would see 10 to 15 follow it and would just be getting frustrated at it. So I stuck to it thinking I could maybe find and stretch where they wanted to bite. Like I know Britt found that, but so day one, talked to a buddy and he was able to catch some on a fly. And I was like, no, I might as well try it. I have it tied on. I've thrown a little bit. Let's see if I can find it. So I went up there and started fishing it and found out that they would bite it. And after that, day one, after the A rig, when my shoulder got tired, is where I found the Senko bite because like, oh, I need to drag something. My shoulder's burning. So I figured they're not way back in some of these pockets, so try this point. And I could see them on forward facing and wonder what they'll bite. Went through everything and finally picked up the spinning rod and threw the Senko out there and caught one. So I tried on a couple more points and it was pretty consistent. Like you'd see them be able to pull off and drag through super slow, I found out, and get a bite. So then I kind of just went with that.
And how were you fishing that? Were you Texas rigging it? Were you wacky? What was the best way to catch those fish, when you're throwing that Senko?
Yeah, I was just Nico rigging it with the
Hmm.
16th ounce weight, and it was every time I tried moving it fast, nothing. I would just dead stick it, let it sink to the bottom, hold some tension on it, and let it sit there. Drag it a little bit, just sit there and let it hold tension, and it was either within the first little bit they would bite or not a bite at all. So it would be a way to make a few more casts at it. I mean, it was within, I don't know, 3 or 4 drags, and if nothing, I would just recast up there and hope one bit.
Was there a certain depth that you really found that you were fine? They were like, oh, you know what? If I got to 5 feet or 10 feet or 15 feet or whatever it is, that's where they were at? Or was it deeper? Was it shallow? Or did it seem to matter at all?
It kind of seemed like they were spread out from about 8 to out to 25. But for me, I was getting most of them in that like 8 to 15, the ones that would bite. But that's probably more on me because I do not like deep fishing at all. I don't have the patience for it. And yeah, I struggle with fishing deeper than I'd say 15 feet, maybe 20.
I feel like a lot of people have that issue. It's not for me, it's not one of those ones that I like to do either. And I know I've fished and talked to a bunch of guys that are just like, nah, if it ain't shallow, I'm not winning. It's one of those, Ish is one of those guys that he has said that forever, oh, there's always fish shallow and that's where I'm going to fish. And he doesn't like to fish deep either. So I get that. You said one thing in there that kind of, that people don't bring up. Um, and you're talking about the A rig and you were throwing the A rig, but you said you got frustrated watching them not commit to it. And that's part of that forward facing sonar that I'd love to, it can be a great tool, but it can also be a frustrating tool. I mean, it's like you're watching these fish not hit your bait as much as you're watching them hit your bait. What has that been like? Explain that a little bit because I think that's something that we don't ever talk about. They talk about, oh yeah, you have this forward facing sonar and you catch fish because you see them on there. But that's not always the truth. I mean, I feel like the more people I talk to, the more it's like, yeah, I was watching them, but they weren't eating or they weren't eating. I had to make adjustments. I had to change this or change that. Is that part of this whole thing coming up that You know, it can be a great tool, but it's also kind of frustrating to watch fish react like that because before we had this, I mean, it was just you threw your A rig out there and they either hit it or they didn't, you know?
Tackle Warehouse has been the premier online tackle shop since 2003, with a huge selection of not only the latest and greatest from the biggest brands, but the hard-to-find regional specialties as well. Tackle Warehouse. Click, save, fish.
Yeah, so with the forward facing and seeing them, like, it's great. You see them, you know there's fish there, but sometimes it kind of makes you feel like you don't know how to fish when you see so many that look at your bait. You know you dialed everything in, it looks right to us. Looks right, you're in the right spot. There's fish looking at it, following it for 20, 30, 40 feet, but why don't they commit? Like, you make all these tweaks and adjustments, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. And like you said, before forward-facing sonar, just go down the bank, make cast and reel, and wouldn't even know that there's that many fish there, and they would either bite or not, and it was simple. But now with the ability to see them, like, it's great when they're biting, really cool equipment, but when they're not biting, that frustration is real. Like, it makes you wonder, what else could I be doing? Are these fish just don't want to eat and just curious? Like, what's going on? Like, it really is frustrating.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting because that, like I said, that's something that people don't really talk about with this whole, you know, with this new technology out there. Um, you know, I know guys are using it. I know people are like, oh yeah, it's changing fishing. And it's like, I think sometimes, like you just said, for some ways, absolutely. It's if they're biting and they're hitting and they're going on, you know, yeah, it seems like that's a great tool. But if they're not, it's almost like some of the other changes that you know have happened, like with the leaderboards and knowing who's behind you, and you know all these different things. If that pressure of I can't get these fish to bite, even though I know they're looking at my lure, they're chasing it or they're doing whatever. It just seems like a simple, like, oh man, that's crazy that I can't get them to bite. Why can't I get them to bite? Does it change your game in any way when you're doing that? I mean, you made, you know, day one, day two, day three. When you make day three, there's so much pressure anyways. I mean, the weight you have, the weight you know you gotta have, the people that are fishing with you. These are, you know, obviously there's 9 other guys who have qualified. So for even if it's just for that day, those are all some pretty hefty sticks that are out there, and they have got this thing dialed in and figured out. is this is this just an added pressure that maybe you don't need out there, or is it something that even though it is tough to make those changes, you would rather have that on your boat, have that forward facing, that looking, that scoping, however they want to call it these days? Does it give you more pressure, or is it something that you're just even if there's more pressure, it's totally worth having?
Yeah, I think there's a little added pressure, but I think it's 100% worth having, just for the fact that, I mean, there is, well, the big fish that I caught on day 3 was solely because of it. So, I mean, I
Huh?
think it's, no matter how much pressure it puts on you, I think it's an essential tool, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and that's it. I mean, you know, all of us that really know, you know, got to watch the Bassmaster Classic and saw some of the ways that it was used by some of the top pros out there in the country, and you know, the guys who win this thing and do all that, and they all seem to have it on there. And you know, are you one of the guys that has 11, you know, different machines on the front of your boat?
No, I used to have a dual graph, like a down imaging, but the
Mhm.
transducer broke and I switched trolling motor, so I just have the one Garmin on the front
Okay.
to give me depth and to be able to look at something and find some fish.
Yeah, and that's I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things that nowadays, you know, you have to look into. You know, and we're talking, and you talked a little bit about the temperatures in there and the water temps coming up. What is that number that you were? Is there a number you were looking for going into this tournament when you're like, hey, if this water reaches this, these fish should be on, and I know where to look for them.
Yeah, I didn't really have that too much in my head just because I'm not super familiar with Oroville and what the temperature is that they really go off at. I just knew it's warming. Fish like warming trends and like to move up. So I just rolled with that.
Was there did you ever spot any that had already made up onto the beds at all and started in that? I recently fished some lakes and I found some bedding fish. Was that going on at all at Oroville, or was the water not clear enough to really see yet?
There were some areas where it was clear enough to see, but I never really saw any that were actually making beds and up there, but that doesn't mean they weren't. Personally, I just didn't see any.
Okay. Now here's, another question I have for you is what's your favorite time, or what's your favorite way to fish? I I find it, it's interesting. You talk about the A-rig, you talk about the float and fly, that you weren't, proficient at it, and yet you still won with it. You're throwing the Senko around, and it ended up being almost a backup, or you needed something to throw in case they weren't eating that float and fly. What's Wyatt Debusk's favorite way to go out and fish?
Probably with a double buzz. If there's, I'll do it when there's not really a double buzz bite. But when there is, it's by far my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, just cover a lot of water, throw some double buzz baits out. What does that make your season? Are you more of a summer guy? You more of a, where are we looking to go? You know what? This guy's going to be a player, but I want to watch out for him.
Yeah, starting pretty soon. Once they post spawn all the way through fall, I'll throw double buzz probably 60, 70, 80% of the time.
Okay.
Just hoping.
Just hoping for that one big fish to make it into the next one. So, we've got some lakes coming up, like Clear Lake and the Delta and that sort of thing too. Are these places that you're looking forward to? You mentioned a spotted bass lake isn't really your thing. Is that the grass in the largemouth? Is that where you shine a little bit?
Yeah, I've done pretty decent on spotted bass lakes. I think more luck than anything. But yeah, I like largemouth. I like fishing shallow and burning down bank.
Okay. With this tournament, there were a few issues that we had to go through and we fought through, and you were one of the guys that was up there, and it was you basically came out, kept your cool through all of it. You end up taking home the championship. How was this as far as like the whole, I guess the whole tournament going into this? I mean, was this something you had any confidence coming into, or where did you really pick that up? When did you just go, you know what, I've really got a shot here? Was it at day 3 or was it before that?
Yeah, it was day 3 was when I thought the first fish I caught, I'm like, oh, there's a chance. And then throughout the day, it started petered off more and more and more of my thought that I have a chance, because I just couldn't get anything to go with the big one. But yeah, day 1, you hear the talk like, oh, it's going to take, almost going to catch 15, 16 pounds. It's going to take 13 or 14 a day to make it. And I knew I had 12 pounds. I was like, oh, I'll be okay. I'm not out of it. And then day 2 at 3:08, which was 20 minutes before check-in,
Right.
I caught a 6 or a 560. Like, wow. Oh, I'm going to make top 10. And yeah, after that, it was kind of wishy-washy if I thought I had a chance or not of winning.
So
yeah,
why
the two big fish, one on day 2, one on day 3, really were difference makers.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now those were and both of those were largemouth, right?
Correct.
Okay, so was there something you were targeting differently for largemouth, or what did they come on?
The one on day 2 was more in the back of a cove. I never really figured out where the largemouth were living, but went into this cove and started boatloads of fish on the forward facing and couldn't get anything to go. I'm like, all right, I got 30 minutes. I told my co, I'm going to start burning down the bank with an A-rig and hope and pray. And first cast after I said that, I'm like 8 foot of water over some bushes. I'm burning it, and one just comes out and smokes it. And so that was my last pull of the day. So naturally, day 3, I was like, I'm going back there, and started farther out at the mouth with the fly. And first fish, I going along, look at forward face sonar, see that one's looking at it, so I shake it a couple more times, and there goes the bobber. Set into it. I'm like, oh, this might be a good one. My co sees it. He's like, yeah, it's a really good one. Then it does its dive, digs under the boat. Where I'm fighting it. Next thing I know, you hear behind us, it jumps out of the water on the other side of the boat. And luckily dives down and comes up and we net it. But yeah, that was really lucky that I didn't lose it at that moment.
Crazy. So you go out and you're throwing an A-rig, which is definitely a lot different. The way you're throwing it, the way it has to be used, it's a lot different than the float and fly. And the second one you catch, that's a big one like that on a totally different day, same kind of area, but you catch on a float and fly. I mean, that's got to be a heck of a little. I don't know. I mean, you were talking about how the A-rig really wasn't catching much, yet that's what you end up catching one of your big fish on, and then you go back to the float and fly and you catch it on that. I mean, that had to be an interesting. How do you break that down?
Yeah, that's the day 2 one was just hoping and praying, and then day 3, I knew in the mornings I can get my fly bites. So I saw a couple bushes. I threw the A-rig, probably 5 casts out across the front of them, and nothing. So then I picked the fly back up, and I would do that down some stretches, like throw the A-rig down the stretch, and then put it down, pick up the fly, and go slowly through it. And yeah, that A-rig had to go right over that fish's face and never even thought to bite it. But then you throw a little itty bitty fly and a big one fat over the school of shad, basically.
Wow. Yeah, that's good. I mean, that had to be. I know you were saying that this was the last day. This was the last part of the day. This one was the first part of the day. It's got to feel so interesting having that in the box, and now you've got to fill it out. When you're out there and you've got that, at what point, were you just like, okay, I've got to get 5 to go with this to make this championship? This is, it's day 3 now. You've got your big fish in the boat. What is it that you just said, hey, I'm just going to keep fishing, and that's going to be how I approach that? Or is there a pressure to put, it's like, oh my gosh, now I've got to get 4 more fish to go with this thing. What was your
Yeah, so
mindset, in that?
Yeah, there was a little bit of pressure, like, hey, when I have to get 4 more. And I kept going down the next like 30 yards there. After I caught that one, there was that's one thing about another frustrating part about the live scope. I would see some really, really big marks. I would be looking at the fly and would take it down, and I would get pressure and it would pull off. I think I lost 5 or 6 in the next 30 yards after that one. And some of them would just pull off. The biggest mark that actually bit, I was trying to look back and forth from the bobber on live scope to see if it's still looking at it. And one of the split seconds where I looked down, the bobber went down and it was too late. But yeah, after that, I went down the whole one side with the fly. Like, I can pick up a couple more. I think I picked up 2 small spots going down it. And when I got to the back, my co-angler was already culling. I had 3 fish, 1 big one, 2 rats, and he's already culling back there off the Nico rig. So like, okay, I got to slow down, catch 5, and then go from there. So they will slow down, fill out my limit, which it was not much of a limit to go with it. I don't think one of the other 4 was 1 over 2 pounds, and the rest were all 130 to 170. So I was like getting a little nervous that, hey, I just have a big fish, and that's cool. Probably not going to win, but oh well. And yeah, I went through all places where I'd caught better quality fish in that whole area, and kind of same thing, like just little coals, 180s, 190s, 210s, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it just seems. Did you have an idea? I guess going into the day 3, you have somewhat of an idea what it's going to take. Did you have any idea in your head of, hey, you know what? I'm going to need this much weight to really be competitive. And what was that weight?
Yeah, in my head, I was thinking I got to get to 15 pounds to make it close and make a run at it. And I knew if I could get, I mean, it sounds crazy looking at the weights, but if I could get to 16 or 17, I knew I would have a really good shot at winning, just because of how, I mean, I caught 2 on my scale. They're exact same weight from day 2 and day 3, 564 largemouth. So I knew that they were biting and somebody could dial it in and catch 16 to 20 pounds. So that was in my head that I at least got to get to 15 and hope for more to be able to try and win.
Hi, this is Josh McMurray. I'm the city manager for the city of Oakley. We're located on the Delta. We have a beautiful shoreline, and we really want to promote the city as the gateway to the Delta and showcase everything that we have to offer. We have a beautiful downtown that's expanding, brand new restaurants. What we're trying to do is build that brand to make sure that people know that you can come to Oakley and you can do everything that you want associated with the Delta, and you can still stay here, eat here, and have a good time in a very family-friendly and safe environment.
Wow. That's a big weight on Oroville too, 15 pounds. What I know I'm the guy up there weighing everything, but what place were you going into it? And going into day 3, what place did you start at?
I was in 4th.
You're in 4th overall. So you still had a little bit of work to do. How far back were you? Do you remember?
It was, I don't remember exactly. I think it was a pound or 2. So it wasn't extreme, but that's why I figured the 15-pound mark, because the 3 ahead of me were Ray Gutierrez, J.R. Wright, and Aaron Britt. And they all
yeah, those are some pretty good names on Oroville. Those are pretty good names on Oroville.
Yeah, they all 3 know how to perform really well under pressure. And so I figured they catch 13 to 14. I would need 15 to 16 to be able to match that.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you what, if nothing else, you definitely did that. What was your overall last day weight, just for the people out there?
30, I know it was 38.
No, just your day 3. What'd you bring in on day 3? It was
1454.
So you were really, really close to what you thought you needed to bring in. Like, you said 15 pounds and 1454 ended up doing it for you. That is darn close to what good job of pulling that off.
Yeah, I thought with what I had, it would be really tight, I think it was a half a pound between Greg and I.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be really tight. I'd be up there, but I didn't think it was enough to actually win.
Well, you were wrong.
I was glad I was wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, you did that. Going in what's our next tournament? I think it's is it the Delta?
Delta, end of April.
Yeah, the Delta at the end of April. What is your home body of water? What do you consider your home body of water?
Santa Margarita Lake. It's a little lake here on the Central Coast.
Oh. I love that lake.
Yeah. So we have 3 lakes here, and we fish all 3 of them in all the local tournaments. There's Santa Margarita, which is mainly Florida strain largemouth. Mm-hmm. There's Lopez Lake, which is mainly northern strain largemouth, and then we have Lake Nasamino, which is mainly spotted bass.
Yeah. Oh, Lopez. I haven't fished those waters in a while, but I'll tell you what, you definitely are spoiled down there because those are some good lakes to fish. Lopez, Santa Margarita is one of my favorite. It's such a fun lake for the size that it is. It is just not big, but man, it's great there. But all of those except for Nacimiento are largemouth lakes, and it seems like that's what's going. So you've got the Delta coming up, and how have you been up there? I mean, it's obviously not that far from where you live. It's a little ways, a couple hours, but it's to get on it. But do you fish it enough, or do you fish it a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Take a every year. Have really close friends that live there, so I have a place to stay.
Hmm.
And any tournament that I can kind of hop in, I go. I never really go fun fish it, but I feel like the pressure of tournaments, so you learn more and quicker.
Yeah, that's for sure. So you're coming in. We got the Delta coming in. How are you feeling about going up there? And now you did something unexpectedly, but that happens when you become a champ of this. You put a big bullseye on your back. Now there's people out there going, Wyatt's somebody to look out for now, because you're not just the guy who's been doing this for 4 years. You're not just the guy that's been fishing at these lakes and doing well here and there, or showing up and that sort of thing. Guys have seen you guys doing, but now they know exactly who you are, because you're the one that held that big trophy over your head. You didn't do it in just a small club tournament. You did it on one of the bigger events out here on the West Coast, with Bam being out here now. And there's plenty, these guys know who you are now. You know, I don't want to say that's going to put a bunch of extra pressure on you, but there's going to be people watching. You're out here doing this, and there's going to be people gunning for you a little bit and saying, you know what, you can't pass him over. And now you're going to a largemouth lake. You just told us about how you like to fish for that. You got the grass, you got everything else. The temperatures are warming up. How does this play, coming into this event? How does this play into your arsenal? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to go to Delta. It's giant largemouth, and they're always shallow. It's kind of like spawn. It's going to be spawn, I'm assuming, end of April.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of the guys that live there and know it like the back of their hand are going to shine, just because I've tried bed fishing at Delta, and it's really tricky with the tides. But I'm hoping there's enough post spawn, because then I can go chase that, and I hope there's enough to kind of lean in on that. But yeah, I'm excited to go Delta.
Okay. And how do you feel about that now? Having this target on your back of guys that are going to be, gunning for you, that they're like, no longer, you can't just look this guy over anymore. He's proven now on one of the biggest stages that, you're going to be someone to reckon with. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it, because growing up, I showed pigs all over the country and got very competitive at that, and kind of the same thing. Started as all the kids from California back at Iowa, Kansas City, and stuff like that. And then you kind of make a name for yourself, and people know who you are. And I don't know, I just thrive for competition, and that just builds the competition factor.
Let's say, does it up your game? Does it make you go into it with a little more confidence, a little more, hey, now I've got to do well because it's kind of expected?
Yeah, it builds the confidence just knowing that I can compete with these guys. Like, I've been doing it for 4 years and kind of got my teeth kicked in and grinded and grinded and grinded, and now it's like, oh, I can compete with these guys. And yeah, I don't know. I don't want to go in it with the mentality that I have to do good, because that never pans out when you think like that.
Right.
I just want to go into it and go fishing, because that's the end goal here. We're all just going fishing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in the end, that's all we're really out there doing, right? Is just fishing, taking something that we've done as kids and everything else, and now you can make a little bit of money at it. You can go places. Do you have any dreams, or of going anywhere else with this? Are you going forward further, going into any of it, or are you like, you know what, I like California, I'm going to be here, I'm going to stay here, and this is hopefully, a circuit like ours can grow big enough to make this a profit out here? What's your overall thoughts on where you'd like to be?
Yeah, I would like to get to the point where I can just fish. Living off of fishing. Like, that would be a dream come true. But I mean, being out here on the West Coast, we've heard millions of people say it that made it back east, that it is very hard. There's not a whole lot of avenues. So if the opportunity comes and I can work my way up and make it back east, great. If not, I am very happy and content staying out here and fishing all the ProAms and circuits that are out here.
Well, we've got, with the BAM trail kicking off, we go into Martinez in I don't know, a week and a half or something like that. We take off, we go to Lake Martinez for our pro tour. Is that something you can strive to make? You're in a great place, your second event, you're already sitting up there high in the list. Trying to make the pro tour out here, is that something you're looking at doing?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a main goal of this year going into it, and just working my way up.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's a tough road to go. There's guys who've done it before. You got to go from a pro-am to this. I guess one of the other questions I have for you on that is, fishing right now, you're fishing as the pro-am stuff, and you got a co in the back, you've got, somebody else in the boat with you. Is that a way you like to fish? Is fishing the pro-am stuff? I know it's really what you've been doing, but is it something that you're comfortable with, or is it something that you would like to move on to where you're fishing with nobody in the boat with you? What's that? How does that feel, and how does it change for you?
Yeah, so I mean, starting off in the pro-ams, like with the co-angler, it's cool. Like, yeah, I got somebody there, and then I started getting outfished from the person behind me. So it made me strive to learn more and be better. And yeah, I enjoy the pro-ams, having somebody there.
When you call net, there's someone to get it.
Yeah, there's a net man, someone to talk to, and you always learn something from your coach, because they're same thing. They're learning more, and they have their ways of catching them behind people, and they do some off the wall stuff, and you see them start catching them, and it kind of clues you into more stuff. So I think it's a great learning experience, having somebody there that's not fishing with you, but is fishing in their own competition.
Right. That's probably the first time I've heard somebody say that, they were learned from the guy in the back as well, because these are top anglers back there. They're not, they're not pushovers. These are good guys that come out, they fish hard, they fit, they're out there, and most of them like being back. I mean, Roy Dismangles, alone, he's been back there for a very long time, and he loves being in the back of the boat, fishing in the back of the boat. Chuck Cavros is one of those guys who's done that same thing. There's some big names that are in the back of the boat. Dante Ray's back there. I mean, there are guys out there. And to say that right now, to hear that, it's like, hey, you know what? Don't pass on these guys. They've got a lot you can learn from them too. I mean, they've been doing something in the back of the boat that is not easy. It's not easy to be back there. And it's an easy, but it is a great way to learn, and I know that they're learning, but at the same time, like you just said, you can learn from them too. And that's an important part for people to remember about this whole sport, is keeping your eyes open and watching all around, and everybody has something that you can learn.
Yeah, because if you think about it, they, like you said, Roy, Dante, those guys, they've done co-angler for years and have fished with a lot of people. Like, they have picked up tricks here and there from somebody there. Like, they have learned a lot, and some of those tricks, fishing as a pro, you don't fish with other people. You've never seen something to do like that. So It's like, So it's like constantly keeping your eyes and mind open on what people behind you are doing to catch fish, and kind of incorporate that into your game plan.
Yeah, and I'm glad you were able, brought that up. Wyatt, we've got about 10 more minutes here, and at the end of the show, we just listened to the information of how you broke that lake down a little bit, how this, came about. And I'd love to give you some time right now to kind of let people out there know, if you've got sponsors, if you've got, family members supporting you, that sort of thing. Anybody out there, this is your time. Let everybody know who Wyatt Debusk is, and, where you're going from here.
We've paired one of the most iconic hulls in the history of bass boats with a proven lineup of trusted accessories. We're bringing you best-in-class value and performance, leaving others in your wake. Turnkey value, turnkey performance. The Pantera 2 is an overachiever in the 19-foot category. Once you hit the throttle, you'll feel the rush, and there's no looking back.
Yeah, so I'm kind of just a country boy that works every day, and that haven't really gone too in depth on the sponsor side. So it's kind of just I get my paycheck and use it towards fishing, which there's a lot of guys here on the Central Coast that do that. And yeah, the family, the big support, like they're always encouraging me, ridiculing me. Like they'll get hard on me when I don't do the right things. And yeah, for thank you stuff, the Central Coast was a huge support. Like you don't think about it when you don't do good. Like people talk to you and whatnot, but I have received so many texts, phone calls, reposts on social media, and just shows how competitive we are here. And yeah, it's made me such a better angler just because you have guys like Nick Salvucci, Austin Bonjour, Patrick Toohey, Scott Hellison. The list keeps going on. Some guys never heard of that always whip up on us. And yeah, they all put something out there and supported me. And yeah, it was a huge, it was a really good feeling actually that you may not always see it, but there are people behind you.
Yeah, I mean, there's, I guess it's said, you never know if everybody that's out there until you do something and they come out of the woodwork to show their support and say, you know what, we have been watching you and we do support what you've been doing. And now that you hit the top, you hit the championship, you made it, did all this, we want to, show that support, show that, give you a little bit of love. And it's going to make the next event a little bit easier too, I'm guessing. Now you got, like I said, now you got the Delta coming up. You're a little closer to home. You're not as much travel, you're getting back towards your water. Then we got Clear Lake and we got, there's some good lakes coming up. I think one of these days we're going to end up down there. I don't know if it'll be this year. Well, I know it's not this year, but we'll be down that way. And I know we've been looking at a couple lakes in the Central Valley, Central area. So it's one of those, it's coming, those lakes are coming. And I know that there's going to be some guys coming out of the woodwork down there to fish because there's some good lakes down there that put some big fish out. And some of the names that you said right there, Jared Lintner on there too, that guy's he's fished all over the place. He fishes all over the country and he came right out of that same thing. He's fished Santa Margarita and Lopez, all that. He's been there and done that. So, yeah. Wyatt,
yeah. So for our ABAs, for the longest time, because Jared lived in Arroyo Grande, which is right here, it was Nick Salvucci and Jared Lindner as a team. So it was, we got some stacked ABA teams down here.
Yeah. All right. Well, going forward, we hope that you can just keep this momentum going with you. You do well. You've got some good momentum now going forward, going into the Delta, going into Clear Lakes, going into some of these more, prolific largemouth waters that we have. I hope you do well. I will definitely see you up on the stage for sure. And, thanks for coming on and doing this tonight. We really appreciate it. I know that you're not the biggest, you told me right off the bat, I'm not the biggest talker. I don't know what to say, but hey, you did a great job tonight. You did a great job at Oroville. And this is what we're looking for, man. We would love to grow some of these people, give you all the opportunities in the world. I mean, you're coming on, you're going to be on the air in 2 weeks right after Laker Howell. I mean, you've got some big names that you're going to be in the mix here with. So feel proud about that, man. You're out here doing this whole thing, and it's getting closer and closer to one step of you just taking a major step towards doing this for a living. So congratulations with that. Congratulations on winning this tournament. And again, just thanks for coming on and doing the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for, I mean, you're, like you said, the social media for Bass Angler Magazine is next level, and you're giving some of us out here an opportunity to make a name for ourselves. So it's super awesome that you guys are doing that.
Well, you've done that just a little bit longer. Like I said, you've got the target on your back now, so watch out for those guys. They are they're killers out there, man. They smell blood in the water and they're coming. So you know, win 1, win 2, win 3, because I'll tell you what, these guys will be looking for you. There's you know, that one of those names you named out there, Aaron Britt, you know, he's always out there looking for that win. And you know, Greg's always out there looking for that win. And there are a number of guys that, yeah, they're just not going to back down. They're going to keep coming. So, you know, do your best out there. And hey, like I said, thanks for doing this, and we'll catch you on the next one. And everybody out there, thanks for tuning in and you know, listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, Wyatt had a lot of information right there that he gave out, and I hope you learned a lot about Oroville. And we'll see you on the next Band Pod.